Hi, this is Inge from Ingesknittinglab in Denmark. Welcome back. If you're new to my knitting podcast, welcome. I hope you will enjoy the next half hour or so. This episode will be a bit different than the other ones because today is kind of an in-between, which will cover the challenges and joys of becoming a knitwear designer. I'm a newbie. I've had a steep learning curve the past 2 years, however, knitting a lot, very much so. So I've got some experience with different designs and yarns and techniques and so on. And I thought, well, why not try to become a knitwear designer? So this will be part of the episode. I've had considerations going in the direction of what should be my niche. How can I differentiate from the very talented knitwear designers out there? And it's actually hard. And it's also hard to figure out what is you. And being me, I actually don't like being boxed up stating this is the type of knitwear I like, because I find myself very versatile. I like many different things, and I just really enjoy to get inspired from all over the world and getting, so many different ways of doing knitwear. That's great. So how can I then differentiate if I haven't figured out design style wise yet? And then I thought about the yarn, because I sometimes see out there I cannot afford to knit because the yarn is very expensive. The yarn suggested in the patterns, and I don't think you should feel either shy or embarrassed or sad that you cannot afford the yarn in the pattern, because knitting is for everyone. And of course you should be able to knit on a budget. Of course you should, and you can. So I've made it a passion and a quest to search for yarns of very nice quality, also within a budget. So I would like, as a knitwear designer, to be able to make designs and suggest different kind of yarn qualities so that you can have the price range you want, and you can decide which knitwear you want to do, the luxurious one or the less expensive one. So this is one thing. And the other thing, as a knitwear designer, I've been thinking about is, in my family, more people are sensitive to animal fiber. So I have to be creative with yarns to use and so on, and also include man-made fibers, even though it's not my go-to yarn. And this is because I cannot breathe in man-made fiber. It traps the sweat, and it's hard. But I guess technology out there has improved so much. So I guess also within man-made fibers, improvements have been made so that you don't feel it that way. So I will try to figure that one out. And in this episode, you can see here piling up a lot of my designs, which haven't been patterned yet. But I will show you this while talking about the challenges and the lessons learned. So let's get started. Let's start with the vest I'm wearing. It's an inspiration from Alize Yarns, a Turkish brand of yarn. And they make these videos showing how to make different garments. So you won't find a written pattern, you will find a video and some good talks and ideas and tips and tricks how to do it. And I saw this basket weave vest. They call it Oversized Vest with a nice ribbon and so on. And just to show you where I started with this noting in journals. So I saw this video and then I wrote down the pattern, and actually this is my grading. So I have the measurements for me, and then two of my girlfriends says, we would like one. This looks great. And then I just, the number of stitches. Yes, I know this is a rather simple design because it's top down and a square, so it's more easy than when figuring out how to do a yoke sweater or raglan or other design types. So yeah, this is what I did. And if you haven't seen these Alize videos, check them out, because they have different types of yarns, and most of them, I would say, contain some man-made fibers. But this one is made in drops flora, which is a wool and alpaca yarn, which I have come to enjoy very much. I have used it for color work and cardigans and sweaters and a lot of things. And this is very affordable and often on sale, so you can get a good price. And they have a variety of different colors to choose from. I think this is jeans blue, I don't recall. You can see a picture of this beside me, and my girlfriends wanted bit of twerks on the design, so the three of them are not the same, they are a kind of different. Okay, one of my very first own designs was this one. I call it the cozy outdoor nap set, and if you saw my my first episode, you will have seen it before. So how did I approach a yoke sweater with color work and increases and whatnot? I saw a picture and I got inspired, and then I started drawing, just like this. And then I thought, well, the math behind it, I talked about it before, and I went back to Elizabeth Zimmermann, because when talking about designing, I think she very much is a person to take into account, because yeah, I guess she revolutionized knitting with her way of describing the math of yoke sweaters, also raglans and so on. So I read a lot about her techniques online and figured out, where on a yoke sweater to do the increases at which percentage of the yoke, and so on. And this is then how I did it. I thought, yeah, I would like to make one for 2 years, because then my grandson, he was newborn, but then he could kind of grow with it. So I made this one. So I just figured out where to do the increases. This is the neck ribbing, and I figured out how to do the short rows. There's also a lot of math of short rows, but we can cover this in another episode. And then you have the repetitions here in the report. We call it in Danish. We have a report in rapport with the number of stitches, and then I can just draw how many reports on the front side, the back side, and the arms. And this is how I do the grading for different sizes, and I figure out the reports, and then I can have the number of stitches. And yeah, this is where we are. So different attempts, and there you go. But it's not possible to follow this. For me it is, because I'm a visual person. This describes it for me, but this will not suffice when doing a pattern for other people. So I haven't started to write this down or in any program and so on, but I will, because yeah, I like it. This is one of my first pieces. But besides Zimmermann, where to look for ideas on how to design and which different kinds of sweaters are there out there. And one of my first books was this from Anne Budd, and this is a handbook in knitting sweaters from top down. And what is very nice about it is that she has round yoke, she has raglans, she has kuppelærme, it's set in sleeve, I guess, a saddle shoulder construction, and what's it called? Drop sleeve, I guess. Yeah, it's you knit up straight and then put on the sleeve. And this is good, but it's really good. I really have studied this a lot because of the sizing and her models and what she does. However, when I look at this one and try to figure out how to do the designing myself, I can get a bit confused of all the numbers. It's served for you on a silver plate, but it's kind of, my eyes start getting, what's it called in English? It's jumping and dancing before my eyes, because I think this looks a bit complicated when I just need for my size and I have to go through many pages, and these are numbers. I cannot see how this is connected. So of course you can when you have figured out the math. So for me, it's very important to have the overview and the logics around it. How is it built, and how come? Then it's easier to see, this is the factor you increase and how you do it and how this is all fitting together. And I really think this is the purpose of her book. It's just me on the learning curve, I would say, on how to figure it out. I have other books I've been looking at. I have more books, but I will try to reduce the numbers showing you. But this one, The Knowledgeable Knitter, is a very nice book, also going through different stages of design or making a knitwear. So giving techniques, finishing, whatnot. I was introduced to this book by looking at the podcast Fruity Knitting. So if you haven't seen her podcast, please do. It's very nice, and I actually got so inspired by all her podcasts that my head was kind of exploding in all the things I wanted to do. So that was books. But then, the grading, the Zimmermann, the books on how to do it. And just recently, wow, I made a discovery. And here it is. What do you say? I didn't know it was out there, but I found out watching another YouTuber that actually the Craft Yarn Council has these guidelines. And I felt totally at home, because being within the medicinal industry, I'm used to living by FDA guidelines and ISO standards and whatnot. And here, there is what you need. I have been looking, for example, what are the standard sizing for women or children or whatever. I have been browsing pages or stores selling clothes to see what are the sizing of whatever I could find. And here it's all for you on a silver plate, even a guideline on what to do when becoming a designer and what to remember, and this checklist and everything. So perfect. I've been looking at this one, and there's also standards, of course, for knitting symbols and everything, which leads me to the challenges I've had. If you saw my former episodes, you have seen me talking about this newest design of mine, being the Flowerbud Tee. This is the first edition with more lacy parts, and the second edition being more, yeah. Otherwise, you can hear the other videos if you want more details. But anyway, I had difficulty because in stitching up the chart, because making the chart pattern, because the knitting needles led me, I didn't know how and what, and I had to search for different software out there, and there are many on the market. But I ended up buying, or at first I used, I guess, a free or demo version of Stitch Fiddle. And once I figured it out, I stayed there. I know that many uses Adobe Illustrator, which is Spitz, we say in German. It's really nice program. Can do everything. But Stitch Fiddle also uses vector files and so on. Now it gets a bit technical, but even so, I had the challenge of doing so, and I've spent many hours now trying to figure it out. But finally, I am a bit proud because it's taking hours and hours and days and weeks actually to be able to stitch it up and figure it out. So it's graded now from X small to 5XL. And another place where I feel at home is that also a knitting designer has Excell as a best friend, just as in our business, medicinal business. So, of course, no grading without Excell, and adding in numbers and fractions and what to do. So, hopefully soon, because a test knitter, signed up before actually going into the test phase. So she wanted to knit it up, but I wanted to make a nice pattern for her so she wouldn't be discouraged for the first design of mine. So I will soon be ready to send it to her. In order to help me figure out how to and where to do the increases of this yoke sweater of the Flowerbud Tee, I've made these gauge wedges, so that I have 3 repeats of the pattern here, and you can see I put in the needles where I have the increases. So looking back on Elizabeth Zimmermann and so on for the theory, I've made this and also in the Cecilia yarn, so this is the summer yarn, and also this one in Holst Coast, because as I said in the intro, I would like to accommodate that you can make this sweater in summer and winter yarns, and in the price range of yarn that will suit your budget. So this is helpful also when actually writing the pattern or the stitch pattern in the chart. So this has been very helpful. Experienced designers would probably laugh at me and say, yes, of course, you need to do a wedge. But this was kind of new to me. I've made these squares, but it's almost as fast just to knit up this. So actually I will include it in my pattern, the gauge watch being this wedge. So if you have another yarn I haven't suggested, or your favorite go-to yarn, or what you like, then you can just make this one, see if it fits, and add or subtract a number of repeats, and then you are good to go with the design. This was challenges about stitching and sizing and grading and finding the right program to do it in, and going back to my own design here and considerations about alternative yarns, so that you can use a yarn for your budget. This yarn is, you heard me talking about it in other episodes, but if you haven't been there, I will sorry for returning viewers. This is a repeat, but Cecilia Yarns Svarta Fåret, a Swedish brand, which is 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. And this is very soft and nice and easy to knit with. It's not that sometimes when knitting with plant fibers, you know, you get splits in the yarn and a needle gets stuck. It's not that difficult. So I was looking for alternative yarns because one in the family would like one, and I was flattered, of course, that they wanted to wear one of these. And she bought the yarn already. So she bought Sandnes Yarn, and I would say it's about the same price range as the Svarta Fåret. And when you look at it, maybe it's hard to compare when it's different colors, but I can tell you here from where I'm sitting, these two brands and this type of yarn feels and looks very similar. And the Sandnes yarn is 53% cotton, the same as Svarta Fåret, 33% viscose, exactly the same, and 14% linen. So exactly the same stitch count, 21 stitches and 28 rows. Let's see, it's not always Sandnes yarn, they don't mention the row gauge actually. They say 20 stitches. I would say it's rather comparable. And then I tried yet another yarn with the same properties or composition as these, and this is Drops Belle, Belle, B-E-L-L-E, like in beautiful. This is a sidetrack. Bella, isn't that beautiful in Italian? I think so. Okay, Drops Belle is same composition, same properties, but more affordable than these two. I think they would be equally good. And Drops is also very nice. You can have it for half or 1/3 of the price of these, so it's possible. And if I ran out of balls and I ordered some new ones and I didn't get the same lot number, I've never tried with Drops that there was a different color or you could see two different lot colors. Never. And I have bought a lot of yarn, so that's kind of amazing. But that's what you can do with commercial yarns. When you produce so much, you can make the production manufacturing process rather reproducible. Okay, but just to tell you that there are many alternative yarns for this one. And then I thought, well, this is the summer version, but I would like to make it a winter version or spring or fall version. So I'm in the middle of a test knit here with Holst Coast, which is almost half cotton, half wool. This is apple green. So this works as well. It's also 21 stitches. It's just to give you an example of what I'm going through right now with yarns for my design, so that you can choose the yarn you like. After reading this book, and also a book called Go Mad, it's a Danish designer, I thought, well, I will try to make different ones here as a test knit, so to speak, on how to learning how to do these different kinds of sweater types. And this is what I did. So I made this one for my daughter. This is you can see a picture beside me. This is made in a yarn Also it's wool, but also acrylic. I will show you in a minute. So this is made actually top down. You start at the neck, you pick up stitches for the front, and you knit down and pick up stitches to go in the round. And then in order for you to make the puff sleeve, you pick up stitches, but more stitches in one stitch to make the puffing. And then actually also here you use short rows in order to get the volume enough to go over the shoulder. And then I have used a twisted rib for the short sleeves. And yeah, see, when she went to the daycare center with her son yesterday, she was asked, hey, where can we find the pattern? And I thought, well, yeah, maybe I should make a pattern of this one, because I got the ideas on how to do this kind of sweater, but it is my own. But it's actually hard about inventions and what is your own and what is not. Can you say that when you make a raglan sweater, it's your invention? Maybe not. The first one who did a raglan sweater or a yoke sweater is the inventor, and all of us, we just twisted to be our own version, or what? Actually, I don't care so much. Maybe it's because it's not my living. I would just be happy if someone would knit some of my designs. Yeah, okay. And this was an attempt to make a sweater of a yarn which would not be so rustic for sensitive persons. And I can show you the yarn here. So this is from Hobby, called Winter Glow, but for me it's Summer Glow. But anyway, it's 51% wool and 49% acrylic. And I was very inspired by this variegating yarn. So this is what I bought. I thought, well, I could do stripes with the unicolor and this one. So this is what I did, and in order not to make it too stripy, the hem and neckband and the sleeves were unicolor. I have also tried with this yarn to see what happens if you change needle size, makes it bigger, or what happens if you pair it with a yarn of another color. This is paired with a beige neutral, then it fades out more if you pair it with dark rosa, what's it called in English? Yeah, then it gets another color, and if you pair it with a light one, and so on and so on. So just to say to see what to do. That was the Summer Glow puffed sleeve sweater. You spending time for making the stitch chart and writing the pattern, doing the testing yourself to see if you can grade it and so on. It takes time from knitting, of course, so I haven't been knitting so much. However, I showed you in my last episode that I was knitting this, I think I call it beach drop top now, because there are drop stitches and it's an easy throw on the beach. So you can see I've finalized it. This is the back piece, and again short rows come in very handy. You don't have to cast off or anything. You just use short rows. Don't even have to cut the yarn. You do the short rows here and go over here, do short rows in the other side, and then you have the stitches so you can knit the shoulders together, and you can end up doing the neck band. So I finalized the back piece, and I'm so far with the front piece. So I really should have started my design pattern writing career with this one, because it's much more easy when it's just two squares you have to sew together, and it will be with a split hem and so on. Yeah, so this is the one I'm working on, and then the test knit I showed you in size small, because as you can see, I'm used to the bigger sizes, not the small sizes, and you have to do some different considerations, of course, in the design. We've come to the end now. Hopefully this episode was not too messy and chaotic, but maybe it's just reflecting where I am right now in the deep focus on becoming a knitwear designer, and all the different things you have to consider and learn. So this steep learning curve is definitely challenging, and just the way I like it. Knitting is fun and designing is fun. So yeah, this is all. So Roger and over from Ingesknittinglab. Color me happy. Bye bye.